Alrighty, so we're going to just break this down immediately without much description, but it's time to look at some weird things that people have overlooked for 20 years, and I wanted to bring awareness to this because it is... Kirby Air Ride is a game that everyone wrote this off as, yeah, this is just one of those off-centered games that are side games, doesn't really matter. And it doesn't really have any story to it, because basically that's pretty much what this initial entry was. It was just, it was new, and it wasn't really any abiding by any lore or anything. It was just, you know, the preview, which was Kirby being cool as usual, eating up enemies, transforming, and then Meta Knight appears, and then that was it. Nothing else. But yet, what is all this storytelling in the background? This eye and this monster. And as you can see, there are 3 of these located in this area. 3 specifically. And there's the 3rd one over there. There is no others that are opened or as big as those. Now, I'm not sure if it's a red herring or not, but then we have this over here, which makes you think like, oh, this could just be like Dynablade's children, right? Well, we don't know that, because theoretically, it was only just the eye. You would think, maybe Dynablade, that's why pictured here is some sort of fossilized pterodactyl of some sort. So, you know, there's that. Actually, it should be under free run in general. And then next up, Sky Sands, which is interesting. I don't know if it has any relevation to Skya because of the Sky referendum, but then again, the localization is probably different in Japan. And so this involves ruins. Indeed it does. And we come up around this part right here, where we see ruin glyphs and some sort of entity with 3 eyes and 2 spindly, weird forkish arms. I don't know if any of these writings have significance in addition to that, but there's that. So it could be remnants of leftover lore of what this game could have had. And then you go over here, there's a reference to Sun and Moon. Not sure if that's a direct reference to Sun and Moon in Kirby. But here's the sun, and over there is the moon. And as you can see here, on this arch, where 2 pathways converge, as an option, there's another one right there. And there's some more all around. And I don't think these 2 objects are anything different. I think this is literally just the embodiment of Sun and Moon. I'm not sure if it's in relation to the original Sun and Moon, but they're just Sun and Moon. And then we get some weird, unique track concepts here. And then more importantly, the most interesting thing here is this thing. It shows that it acquired some sort of power or life energy or something that relates to green, and that it's eyeing it and it took it. Which is very interesting there. And then you go to this little secret and then you get trapped, and then what's interesting about that, it shows this one again, the one with the neutral one. That's purple. Pinkish light. So there's that. Also, this looks familiar. I don't know if it's a referendum to that direct, you know, where the sea had parted ways. But at the same time, this is sand, but it references like a sea being parted in 2 ways. And then it has edges of sand going over, which is also weirdly interesting there. It kind of references that this used to be underwater and stuff too, which is also odd, but it isn't. It's dried up and just sand. So it makes me wonder a little bit more about that concept and why that was the case. In Kirby Air Riders, we have, obviously, I forgot the name, but that new ocean thing that Sakurai had mentioned. What's funny is that he asked, like, gee, I wonder why the seas parted ways, but that's not the type of question to ask. Now, it goes even further. Now, granted, Frozen Hillside, I think, was more for visual appeal. I don't think the whale or any of its technicalities have any references to the same thing. Or at least to Kirby Air Raiders, to my knowledge, from the previews and the data that I gathered. But in Magnet Flows, there is. It's not really apparent anywhere at the beginning, of course. It has to be around the end. Of course, you're going to have to watch me go through it, because as if I'm editing that part, it's only going to take like barely 2 minutes to get to that part. But yeah, so, you know, in Skya and Kirby Air Riders, there is a dragon statue that is now the representation of the volcano. And surprisingly here, there is a similar looking like a dragon statue that is also used as decoration. I'm sure people who had played the previous would know what I'm talking about, but I still need to, for the people who don't, I need to use it for reference. So as usual, this entire place is normal in terms of design, and then we get to the part right here. Oh, I missed, but that's fine. And as you can see, there is a similar gaping dragon off to the side there. Can't really get a good angle though. But yeah, it's a very similar situation there, which is very interesting. And is also dragon-like. So that's kind of weirdly significant to some extension. Now, Beanstalk Park, I think, was mostly for visuals, but there is at least one reference, but it's hard to denounce whether or not it is a reference. And funny enough, I'm talking about the balloon, little hot air balloon right here. It'll be coming in a bit, and you'll be able to see it. So, we have this design over here. It's like a one-eyed monster. Looks familiar, which is very weirdly interesting. And then a generic design. It's hard to say if it has any significance, but it is interesting that it shows a one-eyed monster here. Very interesting nonetheless. I assume most of it was just a generic design, but it's hard to denote whether or not it has any actual significance. Everything else in this area is not really much lore-intrusive. If anything, it's just mostly for visuals. And of course, everyone's favorite, Machine Passage, has the most disturbing lore of them all. And we'll get to that very soon. Yoink. And what's really interesting about the setting of this place is that it really shows it how mechanical and weird this place is and advanced. Really interesting setting. It's like one of the most interesting settings of all the maps in general, because there's just like a random technologized abandoned area here. It's like weirdly interesting. Ah! Zumbas! Yeah. Sorry, Roombas. And of course we go back to this. So I'm not sure if it's any relevation to what happened in Celestial Valley. There was 3 chicks with 3 eyes, but then we have 2 eye monsters, but not 3 of them. Which makes me wonder were these experimented on and turned into these weird monsters, and one of them are free. We'll never know what the hell this thing is. But yeah, there's just this casually here. In test tubes or whatever the hell this is. In containment. And it actually blinks. It's a 2D sprite though, as you can see, and there's 2 of them. I think they're the same concept. Very weird though. And they're just there. And then it looks like some sort of either emergency exit, and it looks like a sanitational area, because it's all red there. And then you just get to the exit. And that's basically all I really want to make awareness of. Checker Knights has no references whatsoever. That's for visual concept appeal. And of course Nebula Belt, which I don't have, but that's just a nebula, so it has no referendum in that place either. But it's very interesting nonetheless. I mean, granted, I guess I could look at it, but I unlocked it under Stadium. I could just do it under here and just look at it. But I don't think there's any other technical references, to be honest. Not in hindsight. And then there's generic planets, but I don't know if they have anything specific. They are different looking type planets, but I don't think they really reference anything under rotation. But either way, very weirdly interesting. But yeah, I just wanted everyone to get generally acquainted with potential Kirby lore. Not that it might actually be real lore, but it might be lore for this subcategory of a side game. Which is going to be interesting if Sakurai ever talks about this, because he said he wasn't done in the Direct. He's going to keep going on with that. And so I'm just generally curious to see if this will actually go somewhere and whether or not a similar reference will be had. So that'll be interesting. And I just wanted to bring awareness to everyone that this game does secretly have lore, because this game not necessarily was rushed, but probably didn't have too much development. And we all know that now that it's confirmed that Sakurai had been working on it and helped them finish it because they had some trouble for 3.5 months. But it's hard to say if there's a lot of cut content due to the ambitions and limitations of the Nintendo GameCube. So, who knows? It's up in the air, but I just wanted to let everyone know about this. Yeah. So, until next time, later.